Going through the
I'm pumped for your Etsy journey.
Are you?
Yeah, because that means one of us can be not tied to our face on the internet.
If I succeed in it.
You can still be creative. That's like the dream, you know?
Yeah, if I somehow make it through the other side.
I'm the kind of person who likes to create in a bubble, and the people around me will kind of grab my shoulders and turn me and navigate me towards the direction that could actually make me a living. I've had a lot of friends and just people in general recommend the Etsy route, and ironically, before I did YouTube, that's what I did for a full-time living. I made baby onesies and I designed them, and my favorite thing about Etsy is it wasn't just having to come up with all these creative ideas all the time, it was kind of just finding what did well and trying to just make it a little bit better, and to me that was fun. Didn't require too much of my brain. But it was very, very tedious, which I kind of like. I like the tedious work. And recently I've been coming up with every excuse to design more. So putting things on my plate that give me a reason to create, especially things outside of my comfort zone. So I thought, why don't I at least partially go back to my old job and try to figure out now with my last 5 years of gained experience in design and illustration, create an Etsy store and find what works and create that. Should be easy. So this was an absolute nightmare. Something that I thought would last about 5 hours or take about that time took about 20 hours because before I used to create a physical product. This time I was creating a digital product. I don't know what goes into that, so I ended up watching over 50 tutorials. Anyways, let's get into it. So I'm well versed in Adobe products, so I just used Illustrator. I didn't even think about what I actually needed to create. I just started creating and I started designing and I started using templates not from other resumes because I wanted to have the unique thing. So I looked at business cards, I looked at menus for restaurants, that seemed to be the coolest thing, and just like ticket stubs, things like that, instead of looking at other resumes because I wanted something, you know, a little bit different or better. Immediately I realized there was a problem because resumes are black and white. So all these cool extra colors that I found, these things that make me happy, you can't really apply it because people have to be able to print these out on pieces of paper that are white. Anyway, so why resumes? Because there's this website called Marmalade, which basically tells you exactly what people on Etsy are looking up right now and what's popular on Etsy. And I just kind of followed that guide and it was like, oh, resumes. People are searching this a lot right now, so I might as well try to create that because it's out of my element too and just seemed fun. So my big brain move was I'm not going to think about what I should put on a resume, especially from experience, or I'm not gonna copy these other Etsy people. I'm just gonna find the video on YouTube with the most views and just listen to what they have to say. What should be on my resume? And that was a video by Thomas Frank, who actually is a very popular YouTuber who gives a lot of sound advice that a lot of people are really into. So I just took his resume, which he gave out to the public, and I made that like the template for my resume. I was gonna create 4 designs, so with this first one, I pretty much just copied this business card, kind of. It doesn't really look like it by the end of it, but I used a lot of the same coloring. I used the round square in the background, and it's a little more designy, which probably could bite me in the ass later on. I don't know if people are looking for that, but I was stoked, and if I was hiring and I found a resume like that, I'd be like, oh, this is cool. I'm glad you put in the extra thought. The second resume I thought actually looked badass in all red, but then the practical part of my brain was like, bro, nobody wants to see that when they're actually looking at resumes, so I had to turn off the designy part and turn on the realistic part, and this one's probably the most normal looking resume that I did. The third one is a very minimalist-y type design. It's very blocky, the lines are thick, and all the font is super easy to read. And then I added some color to it, which now when I'm looking at it is like, I don't know if it looks good with peach. It might have to just be all black and white. So the fourth one is probably the most creative. It's probably got the most subtle flair to it. You want to make sure that they're not too creative and outlandish though, because these are resumes and people are kind of used to having their resume a certain way. Also, with a brand new Etsy store, if you have 0 sales, it's going to be very hard for someone who is banking on something so big, like potentially having a new job, seeing the fact that you have 0 sales and buying it. So the person who buys from you is probably gonna have to be someone who doesn't look at things like that. They're just like, oh, resume, click, buy. And your first like 10 sales probably have to come from something like that. And this is where the chaos ensued. I purchased one of these resumes from the Etsy store. I just purchased one to see what it looked like when you downloaded it. And it's really easy. It just has like this page that they provide you. You click the links and it downloads right away. And my brain went off and said, wait, how do I create zip files for people to just click download? I've never even heard or tried to do that before. I've heard of it, but I've never tried it. And also the files that I downloaded were Mac Pages, Microsoft Word, and Google Docs. I didn't see Illustrator anywhere or any Adobe product. So I realized, I think I have to learn how to use other programs. A lot of people on Etsy use this app called Canva, which I felt was like kind of limiting, but it's pretty much made for digital products like this, so maybe I could learn that in the future. But I want it to be really easy, so when someone gets the thing, they just double click my name and they can type in their own name. It needs to be really easy for anyone who wants to be able to edit it, to be able to edit it. And Adobe's not like that. Most people don't have Adobe products. So I realized I have to learn how to use Microsoft Word and Pages. And Pages is basically the Mac version of Microsoft Word. So yeah, this is gonna take longer than I thought. And I spent hours after this trying to just use PDFs because I kind of understood that and just make PDFs editable. I don't know why. I thought I could transfer the PDFs into Microsoft Word, and it was a complete poop show, and I spent hours on this, and I watched so many tutorials on how to basically just get the writing to go over the page. I was taking like pictures and putting them in and trying to write over the pictures, and it was chaos. Luckily with a PDF, you can export as a Microsoft Word file, so I figured, oh, okay, well, once I download Microsoft Word, which took 20 minutes for some reason, I can just drag this and drop it into Microsoft Word, and it should look totally normal, and not every single thing should be completely messed up, which is exactly what happened. It was destroyed. So I bought a subscription to Microsoft Word, and luckily with this, I kind of could just drag and drop things in places and move things around. It took an extra 15 minutes, but what's 15 minutes when you have such a limited lifespan? So when I finished the Microsoft Word file, I emailed it to my fiance, who has a Windows computer, and yeah, it turned out perfectly terrible. Everything was broken and nothing made sense, and I give up and I hate everything. Every little thing like adds to another problem. Like even on Word, it's like, okay, well, how do I just create a little character spacing? Just a little spacing between the letters. And like, it worked. And then I tried the same thing for another line and it just did something completely different. Like every step has been like, oh, I figured out what works. And like, it's like actually insane. Like, so the point is I kept trying to take these shortcuts because that's what worked in Adobe products. But when you use a completely new product like Microsoft Word, which is not interchangeable with Adobe at all, you have to create anew. I knew probably from the beginning that I had to start from scratch. I kept trying to beat around the bush, George Bush. So I created the template from scratch. I created the border and the lines all in Microsoft Word. By the way, you can't copy and paste the words either, which makes absolutely no sense. So I had to rewrite this template. This is probably my 4th time at this point, just rewriting everything. And luckily this time, it worked. I sent it and the file made sense. When you actually create the file within Word, it works. So out of the 24 files I needed to create, which is basically 4 different templates, 3 different styles, and 2 different formats, I had finally finished 1. So I'm not gonna bore you with the rest of what I went through to get that done realistically. The funniest part was the Microsoft Word had a like easy PDF converter, and I clicked that and it just destroyed the file, and I basically had to recreate them all in PDF as well. And then you have to create the A4 sizes of every single thing you create, because in America we have like the letter size, and then most other countries they have A4, so it's like a longer piece of paper version. So I had to design it in a way where it was a little bit longer on all of these pages. And then actually getting the files ready for Etsy was relatively easy for me because that's right up my alley. I know how to like create thumbnails and create pictures, and that part was kind of fun, and you know, having it look good. I even took this picture from Storyblocks, which is a website that like you can download just a bunch of pictures from, and I had to edit this one file to look a little better, cleaner desk, and then I just Photoshopped it over it. I just made it look like every other thumbnail on the resume search on Etsy. So then I had to come up with a name for the shop. It never ends. And I just searched so many different things, but I ended up settling with Resume London Design, and then realized that sounded a little funnier, so I said London Resume Design. Don't know why, it just sounds sophisticated in one way or another. And this little video you're watching right now is one of the videos I basically had to add to the store. So what I learned afterwards is not only did I have to create all these things and work on this thing, but I had to create 2 YouTube videos, well, 3 videos total. One for the image, like a 15-second terrible quality picture that people could see really quickly that describes, you know, the resume, and then 2 full videos, one explaining best practices for using Resume, and then one that was how to download it the best way and download the fonts, etc. Like I had to create 3 videos on top of this thing I was doing. I also learned exactly what I needed to put in the description. I utilized the hell out of all of that, and I never did that before. Even with my last Etsy store, there were so many things I just left unchecked, and this one I was like, no, I am making sure that this can be seen, even if I don't get any sales. And then I just stopped screen recording because it was like 50 gigs of screen recording at this point. It was about 20 hours or so, and I was just like, I'm dead. I'm just gonna finish this store. I'm not gonna worry about filming or anything. So here's the store. Yeah, I know, it's pretty underwhelming. There's only 4 things on it, and everything is like a 1 template page, and to me that's best practice, but I know a lot of people want 2-page templates, 3-page templates. So I guess I can just recreate that for every category as well. And the idea for me was like, well, if I just create a good 12 products, then I can just kind of keep altering those products until they eventually sell. And yeah, the store is doing great. I mean, here are the numbers right here. We've had 16 visits, 0 sales, and we've made $0 in the last week. So it was all totally worth it at the end. I'm just kidding. I know this is how Etsy works, and I know that there's a lot of things I can change. I know there's like the thumbnails I can fix a little bit, the design I can change a little bit. There's a lot that I can kind of fix and adjust, but I don't think I realized how tedious the process is, especially for something like this. But of course, now it's way easier because I have learned how to use these programs. So at the end of the day, the real benefit was the fact that I could actually walk away now knowing how to use Microsoft Word, knowing how to use Pages. And that's the thing with projects like this. Even if they don't come out exactly how you hope, I know some people have high expectations. I never do. I didn't really expect to make any sales for a while. Now I know more things. Now I am more used to the idea of designs. Now I know what's on resumes. I mean, I learned so much actually in these 3 days. I studied the hell out of these programs, out of resumes, out of what people are looking for when they're hiring, all this stuff. Not that I care too much about that. I'm not really sending off resumes. Usually I think a lot of the jobs that I would get now or, moving forward are word of mouth type jobs. But, it's interesting to see what companies are looking for kids and how a kid can really make his resume stand out above the rest by doing a few tweaks here and there. It was fun. It was like a lot to learn. Anyways, thanks for watching. Just wanted to show what goes into trying to get into something like this for the first time. A lot of people out there I know get really excited about these new ventures, and realistically 20 hours isn't that long. I mean, in 3 days I did this. I completely created a new store. I learned everything from scratch pretty much, and I feel like anyone, I created videos on top of that. These kind of projects, I think for anyone out there who wants to get into learning a lot of things and getting into business, etc., you could really take a couple of days, you could take a week and just jump into trying to do something like this, and you learn so much along the way. It really is jumping off without a parachute and having to build it on the way down. I mean, the risk, there's basically no risk involved besides the fact that I was neglecting my work, but there's practically no risk with jumping into something like this. $10 subscription fee for Microsoft is kind of a burden, but I basically made this video so that you could kind of see that yes, the process can be tedious and annoying, but it's absolutely worth it if you walk out the other side with a lot of new skills. I mean, even the skills, if I was applying for jobs, I could literally put now that I know how to use Microsoft Word and Microsoft Pages. I've created this Etsy store. Look at this. I'm a business person in a sense. I can do this and this and this. I can create thumbnails. I can create videos. I have now acquired 6 skills in the last 3 days that I could literally add to my resume if I was trying to get a job. So I think it's worth it. I think at the end it's worth it, even with 0 sales. Okay, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I know this is an extra long video. It's kind of bizarre, but it's been an adventure, and I hope you appreciate it. I've been trying to upload every Monday and Wednesday. I will at least give you 1 video a week on this channel, so be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And hopefully in the future we can, we can see where this goes. Maybe these Etsy stores will take off and this channel will look completely different. Who knows? Thank you so much. Take care, progress daily, and keep killing it.